of the show today. We are talking about efficiency in the NBA. Advanced metrics have only started to be tracked in the last 24 years. Even since then, those advanced metrics weren't even of interest to anyone but upper management in the NBA. And some of those guys weren't even interested in it. Now, most of the NBA media you consume is going to reference advanced metrics. Stuff like true shooting percentage, box plus minus, value over replacement, all that type of stuff. We are way more interested in the details of the game than we were 20 years ago. There are a lot of NBA former star players who, when you look back at their career and you look at these advanced statistics, they were kind of a negative impact on their team. But because back then we weren't really paying attention to how many field goal attempts these guys had, we didn't even notice that these big jersey selling guys were total chuckers. Pete Maravich only averaged 44% from field goal range for his entire career. Like, that's not bad, but it's also not good. Remember, if you're a guard, 50% is about good. 55% is good if you're a center or power forward. Typically, centers and power forwards shoot closer to the hoop. They're easier shots. You should make more of them. For reference, leading the league this year in field goal percentage is Daniel Gafford at 68%. Remember, center. So, for the case of Pistol Pete, you'd hope that a #1 scoring option on a team would have a higher field goal percentage. Probably why, in Pistol's 12-year career, he only made the playoffs 4 times. Now, I gotta mention Tracy McGrady, even though he's my guy. McGrady was low efficiency for his career. He shot 46% from the field and then 33% from the three-point line. 39 to 40% is a good three-point percentage. As an example of a good three-point percentage, leading the league this year is Grayson Allen with 47.8%. Say what you will about Grayson Allen, but he is having a very efficient season. Now, in defense of Tracy McGrady, he was the #1 scoring option on his team. He had to shoot a lot of shots. Grayson Allen is probably the 4th option on his team. The Suns were significantly less dependent on Grayson Allen's points than the Rockets and the Magic were on Tracy McGrady. And that's something to point out. Shooting percentage is going to go way down if you're a high volume shooter. That's why Norman Powell and Malik Beasley have a higher shooting percentage than Steph Curry this year. Steph Curry has shot 649 three-pointers this year. He leads the league by 129 attempts. Curry is carrying the Golden State Warriors with his three-point shot. So naturally, his three-point percentage is going to suffer. Grayson Allen, on the other hand, is shooting a lot less contested shots because he's only shooting when Booker, Durant, and Beal aren't open. The last former star I want to talk about is Allen Iverson. I know a lot of you are younger and you may not know these players, but I'm assuming you're somewhat familiar with them. If you're not, Allen Iverson was this guy.
When you just talk about practice, we sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
And this guy.
Stays right with it. Allen wants to go. Wants the baseline. Fade away. Yes. He's way too good. He steps around loop.
Allen Iverson was an icon in the 2000s. He took his Sixers team to the finals in 2001. He was also MVP that season, and he was a 4-time scoring champion. But in order to win all those scoring titles, he had to take a lot of shots. Some games he was shooting over 25 field goals a game. For a point guard, his assists were really low. He averaged 4 or 5 a game for most of his seasons. AI also had a reputation of being a ball hog and a bit of a selfish player, and he was criticized pretty heavily for it. Not by me, I didn't care. His field goal percentage wasn't great either. It was around what Tracy McGrady's was at 44%, with some of the last years of his career when he was a low usage player, bringing that percentage up a bit. But the most brutal of Allen Iverson's career statistics were his three-point percentages. The dude averaged 31.3% for his career. If a guy was shooting that now, he would be encouraged to not shoot and practice more. But all that being said, Allen Iverson was good. He played in 71 different playoff games, meaning he took teams pretty regularly and deep into the postseason. So maybe efficiency isn't even all that important in the NBA. But we'll get to that later. Let's talk about historically efficient NBA players. Maybe players that are a little less unsung, had a less noticeable impact out on the court. Let's talk about the most important statistic when measuring a player's offensive efficiency. True shooting percentage measures a player's free throw percentage, field goal percentage, and three-point percentage, weighting each shot for how much it's worth. Having a high three-point percentage is going to raise your true shooting percentage more than having a high free throw percentage, because free throws are worth 1 and three-pointers are worth 3. Interestingly though, the players at the top of this list are not three-point shooters. They're the big old dunkers and layup kings. They are the traditional centers of the NBA. Guess who has the highest true shooting percentage for their career of all time? It's Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is the most efficient scorer the NBA has ever seen by this metric. He's obviously not a high volume shooter. He's averaging 12.6 points per game for his career. But I believe this is actually very important to Rudy Gobert's Hall of Fame case. More than likely, at the end of this season, Rudy Gobert is going to have 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's in rarefied air, only with Dikembe Mutombo and Ben Wallace, both guys who are Hall of Famers. If you factor in Rudy Gobert as one of the most efficient scorers of all time, I think you have no choice but let the guy in. Another incredibly efficient NBA player was Steve Nash. Steve Nash's back-to-back MVP years kind of mark where NBA voters started caring about efficiency. He only averaged 15 and 18 points per game those seasons. And granted, he did lead the league in assists both those years, and narrative was definitely a part of his MVP campaign. Still, that's an incredibly low number for an NBA MVP. It might be the lowest of all time. How about you go look it up for me? But a big part of the reason he won those MVPs was how efficient he was with the ball and how that impacted for wins for the Phoenix Suns. Nash was always making the right pass, but he was always scoring when he needed to with a high percentage shot. Nash has been a part of the 50-40-90 club for 4 seasons. Only 9 players have ever made the 50-40-90 club once. Don't worry, I'll explain. It's when a shooter shoots 50% from the field, 90% from the free throw line, and 40% from the three-point line. Larry Bird has done it twice, Kevin Durant has done it twice, but Steve Nash has done it 4 times. A lot of people don't like the fact that Nash has 2 MVPs.
Coach Reggie, was he true MVP or was he a sympathy MVP?
No, he was a true MVP.
Over me? Twice?
Oh, get out of here.
If you're at your house, can you show me one of those MVP trophies that you stole from me?
You can't make a free throw down the stretch, you know, it's hard to get an MVP, buddy.
But I do. The way we measure efficiency now is with PER, player efficiency rating. Player efficiency rating factors in a player's negative and positive stats, so it counterbalances their overall production with their efficiency. Joel Embiid this season, even though he got injured, still has the highest PER season of all time right now with 34.1. How does he do it? Well, he's a great free throw shooter and he shoots tons of free throws. Not only that, he's making a lot of and ones. So he's getting to the free throw line playing with house money. Every time he shoots a field goal and he gets fouled, if he makes it, it counts as a field goal attempt. If he misses it, it doesn't count as a field goal attempt. And then he gets to shoot those free throws that he's really good at. So you can look at this and say, well, isn't that kind of a hack for efficiency? But at the end of the day, the dude gets wins and the Sixers win a lot of games with him. So if you can't beat him, learn how to finish through contact and make your free throws. All right, thanks for being here. Leave a comment about efficiency. I always reply. Or if you have an idea for a video that I can steal, I'll steal it. I always reply. Like or dislike the video if you didn't like it. Watch a basketball game this week and then talk about it with someone. Be good to your mom.